The Cincinnati Reds have the second part of their 1-2 punch back. Matt McLain is going to make this team a playoff team in 2025.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We love baseball. We love this team. We've been podcasting about these Reds for a combined 14 years. On today's show, we're going to break down the return of Matty McLain and what his return to the Reds lineup could look like for him and mean to the team in 2025. We're also going to be counting down the days to opening day. And with 36 days to go, we're going to take a look at the best Red to ever wear the old number 36. And that is, of course, Mario Soto, according to Jeff and I. We're going to start with Matt McLain, though, Jeff, because I am excited to have this guy back in the lineup. I am excited for that 1-2 punch, that double play combination, all of the things that are going to be Matt McLain teaming up with Elly De La Cruz.
And the double play combination is key because Terry Francona said the other day, at least according to multiple reports from Reds reporters out in Goodyear, that Terry Francona has said that Matt McLain is this team's second baseman. So we're starting to see the picture come into a little bit more focus for the Reds, at least as far as the fielding arrangement is situated. And I'm actually very glad about this, Steve, because I feel like he is healthy. He is ready to play. But I don't want to put a ton of stress on that arm and put him out in the outfield and put him at third base and have him make some longer throws. Let's ease him back into it at second base where we know the range is going to play fine, the glove is going to play fine, and he just has to make a couple of throws here or there, and I think that he's going to be great at it. He is this team's best second baseman. Make no mistake about it. Now, the question that a lot of people had is, could he be this team's best center fielder? I don't know. We've never seen that before. So that's a question that we really don't even need to ask now, being that he's going to see most of his season at the Keystone. But for me, his return brings this ability where I can envision a situation that Elly De La Cruz is on first base and Matt McLain is at the plate. And a pitcher's like, boy, oh boy, if I don't pay enough attention to Elly De La Cruz, he's going to be on third before I blink. But if I don't throw a good pitch to Matt McLain, there might be 2 runs on the board. So I got to make sure that I'm at the top of my game if I'm the opposing pitcher and you have Elly on base and Matt McLain at the plate. I love this combination for the Reds, and I feel like that is one of the biggest reasons that 2023 didn't meet with expectations because of everything that the Reds have in Matt McLain.
Yeah, let's remind folks, it's been a minute since we've seen Matt McLain on a baseball field. We lost all of the 2024 baseball season from him with that freak shoulder injury that occurred out in Goodyear last spring training. That happened, and we were told, oh, it's precautionary, it's day to day. Oh, by the way, Matt McLain had shoulder reconstructive surgery, and he's out for the year. Kudos to David Bell and his injury reporting. Matt McLain in 2023, Jeffrey, 290, 357, 507, 16 home runs in 89 games played, OPS plus of 127, 27% better than league average. Now, look, we're not crazy people. I do not anticipate that type of production out of Matt McLain, especially early on. He was a 3.7 WAR player his rookie year in 2023. He's going to start slow, guys. I just don't see him getting out to a fast start. What's possible, if he puts up a 120 OPS plus season, that's phenomenal in my mind. Yes. If his WAR is at 3 or better, that's a phenomenal return season for me. I want to see numbers that could have him in consideration for being comeback player of the year. And I think he's capable of that. What we've seen from him in his rookie year is that he was never really overmatched by a situation. He looked like he belonged. He didn't struggle. As the pitchers tried to make adjustments to him, he made adjustments to them, and he hit well for his entire first big league seasons. Again, 89 games. So I expect that there will be some rust. I expect as the season goes on, he'll get better and better, and that by the All-Star break, we can have, a season of 2 halves with him. We can have a slow start, rust removing get back into baseball beginning of 2025. And then we can be talking about him being like the second half all-star type of performance, where if you broke it down, his numbers would look more like his rookie year. I'm not concerned that he's going to be bad, but I want everyone to be realistic and set your expectations accordingly, that he might start slow, and that's fair. He has not played in a real meaningful game in over a year.
Yeah, there's a concern that I have that follows along with the starting slow, and we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. But to get back to the point of what Matt McLain brings to the table, we saw the power. We know what he can bring in extra base hits, but also the fact that he got on base a lot too. Like, he was the kind of guy that you could expect to cause havoc even just by himself. And I feel like he was a dude that really sort of galvanized this team with his call-up. His first taste of Major League action in Colorado really kind of helped him out a little bit, getting the hit up there in the thin air. But we saw immediately the effect that he has not only on the lineup and on the production, but on the clubhouse as a whole. I've been asked this question a couple of different times of, who replaces the perceived leadership mentality that Jonathan India carried with him every day during his tenure. And I don't even hesitate whenever someone asks me that. I say it's Matt McLain. In fact, I can make the case that Matt McLain started to take the mantle even in 2023. And his injury may have set that back just a little bit, but his personality and just how he carries himself on the baseball field lends itself to being the leader of this team. As much as Elly De La Cruz is the most important player on this team, if you were to give a captaincy out, it would be to Matt McLain, because he is the guy that leads the team on the field.
He's really one of those. I've talked about this before, Jeff. There's these type of ball players that Cincinnati Reds country loves to love. And Matt McLain is one of those guys, the blue collar, not flashy, nose to the grindstone, get the work done kind of guy. That's Matt McLain. You talk about his extra base hits. 43 of his 106 hits were extra base hits. That's incredible. I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't know if he can continue that level of extra base hit, but boy, it would be nice in a full season if he could keep that up, because he does have sneaky power. He does have sneaky pop. And I think that will continue once he's able to get comfortable. I think it's going to take some time working on that swing and making sure that shoulder is exactly right and making sure that he can do the things he wants to do. But after his performance in the fall league, he said it was fine. He said that, he knew exactly what to expect based on what his doctors in LA told him, and that what he was feeling was exactly what they prepared him for. He was not discouraged. He didn't feel like he had any setbacks. And he feels like, according to what his doctors told him, it takes about 365 days, 1 year. Well, guess what? That's just about opening day for him to be considered back at 100% full strength. Then you have to start working on removing the rust. Then you have to start working on getting back into everyday playing game shape. So for me, it's going to be a process, Jeff, but I'm excited to have him back because it protects Elly in the lineup. It protects your offensive production. If one's down, the other one can pick them up. I like that 1-2 punch. I like the possibilities that it creates for 2025. Having Matt McLain back in this lineup to just so that pitchers can't necessarily just pitch around Elly like they have in the past. We talked on yesterday's show about how few strikes Elly actually gets. Having Matt McLain in this lineup can help with that.
Right. And I mean, to your point about the extra base hits and all that stuff, not anything worth of a sample size in Arizona, but in 50 at bats, he had 12 hits. 6 of those were extra base hits. He had 2 doubles and 4 homers. And he had said that he felt really good in Arizona. And that was the key, was just playing in games and being able to recover from that. And that's what we're going to be continuing to watch throughout spring training. How does he go through practices? How does he go through spring training games and recover from that? Because that's really going to be the test, is that how healthy is Matt McLain? But outside of health, there's one big concern that I have, and I want to get into what that is coming up next.
Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Wonderful pistachios are a great snack. If you're out at the ballpark, just cracking those shells while you're watching the game. It's a perfect source of nutrition, keeps you from being hungry and keeps you in your seat so you don't miss any of the baseball action. They've got a lot of products to help keep you full and satisfied no matter where you're at. If you're in your office, Wonderful Pistachios even has a shell-free version for you so that you're not making a mess at your desk, but you're not starving either. Get it some Wonderful Pistachios today. Get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
We are talking about the Cincinnati Reds here today, all day, every week, every month, all year long. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. For those of you who are everydayers, and if you're not, make sure you subscribe. That way you get every bit of Reds content we have for you all throughout the year. Really, we don't stop talking about the Cincinnati Reds around here. But Steve, as much as I am super excited to see Matt McLain back, there's one concern that I have, and it's twofold. It's that some of the statistics around his hitting were buffed. He had a BABIP. He had a very high batting average on balls in play during 2023. And again, it was a smaller sample size. It wasn't tiny, but it was a smaller sample size in 89 games. In 403 plate appearances, he had a BABIP of 385. Now, league average is around 290. Elly De La Cruz, who I will always contend will maintain a much higher than league average BABIP, was at 350. So he is 30 points higher in his BABIP than Elly De La Cruz was. That's going to come down. Now, projection systems have it coming down about 60 points. I don't know if it's that high because Matt McLain does have some good speed, and he did not hurt his legs. It was his shoulder. But I think that will come down, and I think that will play a factor in what you said, that slow start that we're expecting.
So down to 320 from 380. That's what
that's what projection systems have. I almost would contend he could probably do 330, 340.
320 sound, I would accept that because again, I think there's going to be two halves to this season where the first half of the season is not going to be very good at all, at least for the first couple months, and then he's going to get better and better and better. Here's my concern, Jeff. I think that it's fair for us to expect a drop off under normal circumstances from what he was able to do his rookie year. You're right. There was some luck to that. There was some element of the league learning who Matt McLain was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you factor in him coming back from being out for a year. Here's my concern is that the physical rust, the slow start that we are accepting of and think is natural to a guy coming back from a year, that those physical factors will result in mental fatigue, will result in Matt McLain beginning to press a la Noelvi Marte and suddenly forget how to hit. I hope beyond hope that the guys that are working with Matt McLain are addressing that with him as well. Matt, you're not going to come out hitting 400. Matt, you're not going to be OPS plus of 130 right out of the gate. It's going to take time. You need to do your things. You need to do them consistently, and you need to do them over and over again, and the hits will come. That needs to be the messaging to Matt McLain so that he doesn't become a Noelvi Marte.
I think there's a mental comparison of a current Red for Matt McLain, but I don't think it's Noelvi Marte. I think it's Tyler Stevenson. Remember, Tyler Stevenson went through that broken collarbone, and it took him an entire year, really, to get the trust back in it. He was healthy, but he didn't play very well. And then the next year, he really got back to what we expected him to be, and he kind of broke out again. I don't think it's going to take an entire year for Matt McLain to do that, but how long does it take him to trust that shoulder? You mentioned that a couple of minutes ago that, the trusting of the shoulder is a big part of this, but how does that factor into his performance? The other part of this too, and kind of going back to the BABIP of it all, is that he saw a lot of pitches in the strike zone, where yesterday when we talked about Elly De La Cruz, and I said one of the things he has to worry about with his strikeouts is that guys just didn't pitch him in the zone a whole lot. The according to Fangraphs, the zone percentage, the percentage of pitches in the strike zone to Matt McLain back in 2023 was over 52%. So there were guys that were just like, this guy's a rook. Let's see if he can get himself out. I wonder if that dials back a bit. And I might even say like 2, 3, 4% back a bit. like people trying to dare him to reach for something, because he had a strikeout percentage of over 28%.
You can see a scenario playing out, Jeff, where Elly and Matt kind of equalize each other, right? Like Ellie's not getting any strikes. He'll get more because Matt's in the lineup. Matt's proven that he can hit. He'll get less, and there'll be a balance that both of their numbers will equalize, which is fine. That if Elly gets to see more strikes, that's going to make up for any production that falls off from Matt seeing less strikes. So I'm okay with that. I really, my number one concern, I am not concerned about his ability to play defense. I'm not concerned about his ability to remain healthy. I don't think he's an injury prone guy. I am fully concerned though that he'll press too soon and it will have long-term impacts throughout the season. That's my number one fear. My number two fear is that with that pressing, he tries to push that shoulder faster than he needs to push that shoulder and run the risk of re-injuring it or delaying the full recovery to get to where he needs to be. So I think this is the first big test for how Tito Francona is going to run things differently than David Bell did, and how Terry Francona is going to force the Reds medical staff to operate differently than it did in the David Bell era, because we're seeing the fruits of that particular labor in Spencer Steer right now. What happens when you let a guy push on a bum shoulder? You know, and the Reds have done this in the past. They let Jesse Winker do it. They let Jesse Winker push on a bum shoulder. When they finally got that thing fixed, he started hitting for power. So they've been consistently bad at dealing with shoulders. And I hope that we're in a new era of how the Reds deal with injuries, and that they are able to bring Matt McLain back in a way to keep him on the field for 150, 155 games.
It's kind of worth pointing out, because you mentioned, you know, the shoulder and how he comes back from that, kind of looking at how you break down 2023. As we approached the time when Matt McLain was shut down for injury in the month of August, he saw much more reserved production compared to the rest of the season, where his entire year he hit 290 and he got on base 35% of the time. In the month of August, he hit 260 and he got on base 31% of the time. So there was a drop off in that month. I almost think that's the kind of numbers we could probably expect from him to begin the season. And that's where I'm with you too, is that the pressing, like, does he see those numbers? Does the batting average drop below 250? And then all of a sudden he's like, no. I'm a 300 hitter, man. I got to get back to 300, and I got to get back to 300 today. And somebody's just going to have to, you know, Terry Francona is just going to have to be like, dude, you ain't going to do that. That's not how this game works. You don't fix things in one day. It's a progression. It's going to be a labor of love for Matt McLain a little bit. And that's where I think there's going to be some people, and just get ready for it. By the way, if you're watching us today, if you're listening to us today, mark it down. We're telling you February, what is today? The 19th, February 19th, 2025, well before the season begins. There's going to be some people overreact to a slow start from Matt McLain. They're going to jump off the bridge and say, this team isn't good. This team's not going anywhere. Don't be that person, because that's how this is going to play out. Everybody's looking at this like, Matt McLain's back. The Reds found their master sword. They're ready to slay the bad guy. We're ready to go, because that's all we need is Matt McLain back. But you're not getting 100% of Matt McLain on opening day. Matt McLain is going to be in his groove in June. April and May, he's going to be getting in the groove. What's that look like? It's probably not going to be 300 batting average, so just be prepared for it. We're talking about a dude that does not have what. While yesterday we mentioned that Elly De La Cruz has 1,000 at bats under his belt, Matt McLain's got 365. So he's still working. He's still learning. Give him a moment.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that when you look at Matt McLain, Jeff, I'm going to be the guy all season long that tells everybody, patience, grasshopper, patience, patience, patience. All right, listen, Jeff, let's move on from this, because we are now 36 days away from opening day, where you and I will be going crazy down in the Dora, as is our way. And with 36 days to go, we're going to be talking about the best Red to wear at number 36. We talked about Mario Soto there in the tease. I've got a curveball to throw Jeff coming up next.
In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from Select Quote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family future secure. Select Quote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets Select Quote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for some same-day coverage of up to $5 million, no medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/locked on. Go to selectquote.com/locked on today to get started. That's selectquote.com/locked on. Select Quote. They shop, you save.
If you can't catch us live on YouTube or on YouTube at all, we are on every audio podcasting feed there is out there. You can take us in the car with you, to the gym, to your office, on a walk. We want to talk baseball with you wherever you are. So make sure you have subscribed today. All right, Jeff, 36 days to go until opening day. And we looked through the list and we went back and forth as who's going to be the guy. And we landed on Mario Soto. And that's probably right. But we're going to start with an honorable mention. We're going to talk about Clay Carroll for just a minute because he also wore number 36. Got herself a ring with the 1975 Reds when they started that big red machine run there. He pitched 8 years in Cincinnati, Jeff, 12.5 in WAR, a 2.73 ERA, and 486 appearances, 856 innings pitched. He was pretty good as well. Now, when we look at all of Soto's categories, better, more WAR, all of the things. But I just wanted to briefly mention Clay Carroll because, he did win a World Series here and he was here for some time, 8 years, pitching at a pretty high level. So just honorable mention Clay Carroll before we get into the Mario Soto talk.
Yeah. And I think that, it's a great kind of juxtaposition, a great comparison, right? Like Clay Carroll had the postseason success. Mario Soto was perfectly situated in between postseason successes. Began in Cincinnati Reds tenure in 77 and ended it in 88. So he completely missed
it by this much.
And he missed 1990. And he also missed on a couple of Cy Young awards. Like there were 3 straight seasons where he was a great argument to be the National League Cy Young Award winner, and he lost for various reasons during those 3 seasons. There was one where it was clear that he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He just didn't win enough games. And there was a 20-game winner in there that won it over him. And it was Steve Carlton, I believe, there in 82, as we were looking back at that. But there's so many great performances that Mario Soto kind of put in, and he is the easy argument. And I know that there are some that make this argument as to the best pitcher in the history of the Reds, where a lot of people say Jose Rijo, and then some people come back with Mario Soto. And then you also have some people like myself that would at least interject Johnny Cueto in there. I don't have a strong argument of Johnny Cueto over the other 2 guys, but I feel as though he definitely deserves that mention. But Mario Soto, the key number 36 for me.
Listen to this, Jeff, from 1982 through 1985, his innings totals beginning in 1982, 257, 273, 237, 256. In 1982, he led all of baseball in WHIP with a 1.060 WHIP. In the 82, 83, and 84 seasons, he was an all-star. He had Cy Young votes in every one of those years and MVP votes in 1983. There was a period of time where this guy was just a force. And, I'm sorry, I was super young when he was pitching for the Reds. I mean, just really getting into baseball as he was winding it down here in Cincinnati. But I wish I could remember some of those starts. I was 5 years old in 1982, so I don't really have a memory of watching him pitch, but I would have loved to watch a season like these seasons between 82 and 85. A lot of great baseball was getting pitched.
just for reference, that 1983, the 273 innings, you'd have to put together Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo from last year, and they still don't have 270 innings combined. That's how much he threw.
34 starts, 18 complete games that season in 1983.
Different game, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, you don't
game. Those
you won't
bullpen guys
see-
didn't even come to the ballpark on the days that Mario Soto was pitching.
like you don't. I don't even think it's even close. I think the largest number of complete games that you would see from any pitcher, not a Reds pitcher, but any pitcher in today's game would be like a handful. Nobody's touching 18. And like you can even go back in the history, like the 40s when you had Paul Derringer and Bucky Walters and those guys that were pitching like complete games every time out. It's so crazy to see how pitching has evolved.
For comparison's sakes, the 2024 Cincinnati Reds had one
Total
game.
As a team.
Total. Nick Martinez, one complete game in 2024.
Also, I would have lost money on that because I would have guessed it was either Hunter Green or Andrew Abbott, and that's not the case. But yeah, no, Mario Soto, the key winner here. And then of course we always love to kind of go down the list. I mean, David Wells, his moment in Cincinnati, he wore the number 36 in 1995. You can also look at a couple of fun names like, DT Cromer, or the answer to the Reds' prayers on the pitching staff of the 2005 club, Ramon Ortiz.
Listen, let's talk about 1957 and having a baseball player named Hacker. Warren Hacker, 1957.
It's a pitcher. Hacker's a pitcher. But the best name, though, if we want to go names, the best name, you go back to 1939. You got Wes Livingood.
Oh, living the dream, baby.
Good. He's living good.
Living good.
Mean, how could you? That dude had to be like the coolest guy. And if he wasn't the coolest guy, he missed, because you have to be with that kind of a name. Living good. And then, Scott Service, 1996. Mentioning the 90s Reds. And then you had Gabe White. You remember Gabe White?
Gabe White. And then the most recent of consequence player to wear Edison Volquez. Like after that, nobody of real consequence has worn this number, and it hasn't been worn since 2018. So I think it's time someone needs to come revive this number.
Number 36. Maybe Reese Hines? No, I think he's got his number.
That sounds like a great number for one of the chases. One of the chases needs to get up here and wear number 36 as their number.
Yeah. Get Chase Petty up here.
He's got a race car name anyway. Let's give him a race car number and the 36 car.
The 36 car. And I saw too that I believe it was Nick Kroll confirmed. No, Brad Metter. Brad Metter confirmed that Chase Petty will begin the year in AAA. I don't think that was really up for debate. I didn't think he was going to start in AA. But
not by me anyway.
Chase Petty will start in AAA, which means he's going to have a real shot to make it up to the major leagues at some point. But 36 days away from opening day. Cannot wait. Matt McLain going to be a huge part of this team. Hopefully he continues to stay healthy all throughout spring training and prove to us that he's going to be here every single day, along with Elly De La Cruz, the 1-2 punch of this ball club. The reason that a lot of people are bullish on them. But that is where we'll end today's podcast. Thanks, everybody, so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you can become an everydayer if you're not already. If you are an everydayer, thank you so much for that. Coming up tomorrow, Steve is going to break down Tyler Stevenson and the expectations for him to hit 40 home runs this
40
year.
Home runs, baby! 40! Stop it.
Had to put another one of those in there.
Stop it.
And I know that he's going to be live as well on Friday. I will be away for the rest of the weekend next week as well. Actually taking a nice little trip. Speaking of Matt McLain, going over to Ireland, seeing, about a Guinness and maybe a Jameson is too. Anyway, that's going to be it for us today. Steve, get us out of here.
That's going to do it. We're going to continue to monitor spring training. I got you covered for the next week. We're going to keep gathering up all the news, the rumors. We're going to try and cycle some guests through here next week to talk a little spring training baseball. We're going to gather up all that information and keep you locked on Reds every single day. We're going to have to send a search party to the Guinness distillery to find you.
Slanche, my friend, Slanche.